K-Stuff support, which basically means that you can jailbreak your PS.
-1 right up to the firmware 10.0. One previously 9.60
was the highest firmware that was supported with K-Stuff,
meaning that you couldn't run your PS.
-1 game backups or PS for fake
on
packages
certain homebrew applications.
on a PS5 that was on 10.0 and 1.0.
But now you can with this latest release of K-Stuff by Echo Stretch.
So Echo Stretch has done some fantastic
work here, updating his own console to 10.0
and
or
through
10.01
that he's managed to power through
and get this working here on firmware 10.0 and 10.0.
I'm gonna show you
in this
guys how
video
you can get things
installed. I'll also show you how to update to 10.0
if
or
you want to update,
10.01.
and also I will show you guys how you can
integrate this with ETA hen version to point for B
so that you can get
set
everything
up to 10.01 with ETA hen working with
included,
K-Stuff, so that you'll be able to run your PS5
and
game
as well
backups.
as your PS for fake packages. So let's go
and
ahead.
take a look here. So first things first, if I head into settings,
Go to System Software Console Information.
you can see I'm still on 9.60.
So I'm gonna show you how to update to 10.0.
Although I do need to warn you guys that this is not necessarily
recommended. Updating to the highest jailbreakable firmware
does have some benefits,
like being able to run the latest PS5 game backups,
and you can run more PS5 game backups
if you're on a higher firmware.
However, there are some downsides, like any future PS5 hypervisor exploit that comes
is less likely to work on your console if you've updated to a higher firmware.
So you need to kind of make the decision
on whether or not you
stay
should
on an older firmware so that you can
in the
access
future,
more
like
features.
maybe the ability to run Linux on the PS5
in the future, or if you want to just update to the latest
jailbreakable firmware so you have access to more
PS5 game backups and that kind of
thing.
So that is up to you, of course.
So I'll show you guys how
anyway,
to update.
so I'm gonna update this console from 9.60 to 10.0.
So there's a few
websites you can go to. There's this website. Here, I'll leave linked in the video description.
So you've got all the
retail
different
firmware's official firmwares here that you want to select. So we've got 10.01 right here, and I can
then
just
also
download
there's
it.
this site.
So archive.midnightchannel.net. So this one also has a list of all of the PS5 retail firmwares. So in here we can look for the retail system firmware for 10.01. Obviously make sure you don't accidentally download a higher firmware. So there's right there 10.01, so I could just click on this and download it. There's also a darksoftware.xyz doesn't have 10.01
once it
listed.
does,
I'll also have that one linked in the description.
Another
website that you can use to download the files. So we need a USB drive that's formatted in FAT or FAT3.
So
click on the USB, go to Properties, and just ensure
System
that the
is
file
FAT
or FAT3 to preferably FAT. So you can always right-click and reformat
if
it
it's not in the correct file system.
So we can go ahead and select
and then reformat the drive, but
make sure you back up any data on the drive before reformatting it. So now we can go into that drive
USB
and create a folder in the root of the USB drive
in
called
uppercase
PS5.
characters,
and then inside that folder,
we of course
another
create
folder called update, also in uppercase characters. And then inside that folder, we copy the update file into that location. Okay, and once it's copied over, we want to go to view and make sure file name extensions is ticked. And then we can right-click and rename the file, and just change the file name to PS5update.pop. Again in uppercase characters. That's what the file needs to be named. So it has to be this exact file structure. Otherwise, the PS5 will not detect the update on the USB. So once you have that, you can unplug the USB and plug it into your PS5. Okay, so once we're on the PS5, we want to head back and go to your network settings. And uncheck the box to connect to the internet. Because we don't want it to try and force us to update to the online, latest. We only want the option to install from a USB drive. Another thing I'd recommend doing is remove any
that
game
you have
discs.
inserted,
because sometimes a PS5 game disc
actually
have a certain system software update on the
and
disc. And it could try and get you to update from there.
just as a precaution,
but otherwise you should be good here. So all we need to do is head to System, and then go to System Software Update, and then we've got Update System Software. Also make sure these two options are unchecked as well. And then go to Update System Software. And make sure you select Update from USB drive. And then it should detect the update there on the USB. And we just press X to update. And then you just wait for the update to complete. It will restart the console possibly a couple of times. So just wait until it finishes, and then it should boot you back into the home screen. And you should have the update installed.
And once you have the
installed
update,
and you're back on the home
you can then
screen,
head back into your settings, go back to system,
and go back to the console information page.
And you should see that your system software version has
now
been
to the
updated.
latest jailbreakable firmware 10.01.
So that's how you get your console
updated to the latest jailbreakable firmware
that this new version of stuff
supports. So now we need to get stuff up and running
then
on
I'll also show you how to get Adahen up and
So
running.
I'll be jailbreaking using the YouTube
autoloader since that's the most convenient
jailbreak method available at the moment for these higher firmwares.
So that's what I'm gonna be using to
run the jailbreak and get things loaded here.
Okay, so to set this up, we need to get the new case stuff
that
built.
supports firmware up to 10.01
from Echo Stretch's GitHub repo.
So we just download the case stuff file here.
And then also for the YouTube Jailbreak autoloader, we want to download
the YouTube Jailbreak update.zip file from this project.
And then also Adahen version to point for B.
We can go ahead and grab that as well.
Okay, so to begin with here, what we need to do is
go back
USB.
on our USB.
And then from here, we want to grab the YouTube
Jailbreak update.zip file.
And then go and grab the PS5 autoloader folder
and extract that out to the root of the USB.
Don't put it inside any folders, just the root of the USB
and then
drive.
go into that
here
folder.
We can delete the FTP payload that's in there.
And then we can grab KStuff and throw it in.
And then if we want to load KStuff
just on its own before we load ETA,
then what we can simply do is
right-click and rename the file.
Copy the name of it, open up autoload.txt
and then
file.
replace the FTP server payload with the KStuff payload name.
And save the file.
So now whenever you load the YouTube Jailbreak autoloader,
with this USB drive plugged in, it
will load KStuff automatically.
And you will have the console
jailbroken, and of course, you'll have access to the debug
which you can use
settings
to install package files,
to run your PS for fake packages.
And of course, you can use the Echo Stretch's dump runner,
as well with the homebrew launcher from John Tarmlum,
to run your PS5 game backups.
That's one way I think the most
option,
convenient.
of course, though, is to use ETA
to get it working with ETA version to point, for which
support
is
this
not
new
originally.
version of KStuff for those
Higher firmwares 10.0 and 10.01.
So there is a little bit more involved.
So all we need to do first of all is go back
folder
into
delete
the
KStuff,
because we're gonna be loading ETA
instead.
So we'll take ETA hen to point
copy
for B.
that into that same location.
And again, we'll just copy the file name, open up the
.txt
file, and then simply replace kstuff.elf with the name of our ETA hand payload instead.
So it will load that instead of KStuff.
Now the issue is that if we try and load this version
which
of
does
ETA
not officially
support 10.01 with its built-in version of KStuff,
because it's an older version, it will just crash the console when it tries to load the ETA
So we need to tell
payload.
ETA hand specifically,
do not load KStuff when you load ETA hand,
so it will not crash the console.
So to do that, we're going to right-click in the root of our USB,
and we're going to create a new text document. And we're going to replace the file name and the file extension, and just call it no_KStuff. It should come up saying that you're changing the file extension, so say
you need
yes,
to go into
and
view,
go to show, and make sure that file name extensions is ticked, and it should just be called no_KStuff with no file extension. That is what you need. That will tell Ethan not to load KStuff. So it will load fine first of all if you don't already
Flow
have the
Game
items.
Manager for loading your PS5 game
You
backups.
should make sure you download this for PS5
from pkgszone.com, which will be in the
along with
description.
this PS5 Explorer from Lab.
We're gonna download that for PS5 as
and
well.
we just want to copy those package files that you downloaded over to the root of your USB drive. So copy both of those files inside, and that is basically it. Now, if you want to also take this opportunity to install
games
any
or
PS5 games to try
once
and
you
run
have
them.
KStuff loaded through ETA
So for instance, I've got a PS.
For game here, we've got Resident Evil for Remake.
And this is the game plus the game update and ADLC content. So if I open this file up, you can see this is a fake package version of the game, so PS4 games are installed.
differently to PS5 games where it's just these package files that you install with the package installer. So you just copy them to the root of your USB drive for games that are fake package PS for games DLC or updates, as they install in the same way as a jailbroken PS. For PS5 games is slightly different, where you just have the extracted game files and decrypted game files stored in a folder, and you just copy that folder over somewhere on your USB drive like this. This is a Hogwarts Legacy, the PS5 version, so that is basically how you get your PS4 and PS5 games transferred over. And then we can unplug the USB and plug it into our PS5. Okay, so once we're back on the USB drive plugged in, we can run our Jailbreak autoloader. And let this just run the jailbreak. And it should not freeze ETA hen because it should detect that we have the Nokia stuff file. On our USB, there we go, K-Stuff loading is disabled via the file. And then it loads ETA hen to point for B. But of course, this version has no K-Stuff included. So unfortunately, if you have any homebrew applications or anything, you will not be able to run them, because we are not running K-Stuff yet. However, what we can do now is go into the network settings and reconnect to the internet. Now make sure before you do this, especially if you're using the YouTube Jailbreak autoloader, make sure you're using the latest UH release with the update blocker included, which I've covered in my YouTube Jailbreak autoloader, how to update Basically, if you press the button on your registered network and go to advanced settings, you should have the primary DNS set to 1 to 7 DOT, and it should be set to a manual DNS. So make sure you have that set before you connect to the internet. And then when you connect to the internet, we're going to change the primary DNS just temporarily to 6 to DOT to 10 DOT38, DOT117. And we're just gonna go ahead and click done and click OK and get that connected back up, and that will give us an internet connection. And once we have a proper internet connection, we can then go to the debug settings and then go down to the settings menu, go to the K-Stuff menu. And here we can select the option to replace K-Stuff with the latest K-Stuff via GitHub. And that will actually download the version of K-Stuff that supports 10.0 and 10.01 from Echo Stretch's GitHub repo. And it will install that onto your console storage, so that the next time we want to load ETA hen, it will actually version load that works on your firmware on 10.0 and 10.01. And that way you'll get the full experience. You'll have ETA fully loaded with K-Stuff loaded alongside. That is the general idea. And obviously, you can delete the file from the USB drive, the no K-Stuff file, in order to be able to load it with K-Stuff once you've done this. But once we have that set up, the next thing we can do is, if you want to switch your DNS back to 1 to 7 DOT, then you can do that again here if you're worried about losing the YouTube Jailbreak autoloader or it getting wiped for whatever reason, you can go ahead and set that back. And then we are back blocked again with no internet access. So once we've done that, we should be all pretty much good to go. Now, one thing you can do, of course, is move the contents of the autoloader from the USB to the internal storage, so that we don't need to have the USB drive to load that version of ETA hen. So to do this, we can just go back into our debug settings again, go to our package installer and install the package files that we put on the root of the USB drive. So items flow and PS5 Explorer. I also have my PS4 game, Resident Evil 4 Remake, which it will also install here. Okay, so once we have all of those installed, we got the update that has been downloaded. We can see there we've got Resident Evil 4, and we've got our PS5 Explorer, and right here, so I still can't run any of these applications yet because we don't have K-Stuff loaded with ETA. So if I switch back over to my computer, I can delete the no K-Stuff file off of the USB drive now, and then plug it back into the PS5, and then reboot the PS5. Okay, so after rebooting, we just go back into the media section and load JB autoloader again. And hopefully this time we should get the full setup here with that hand and K-Stuff included. So here we go, serving elf loader. And then we get it closed, loading K-Stuff. There we go, K-Stuff has been successfully loaded. Welcome to K-Stuff Firmware 10.01. And ETA hen is also loaded. There we go. So That is everything. Fully set up now, we've got ETA hen to point for B, support 10.01 with KStuff. Now has KStuff fully up and running with this. We've got our ETA hen menu loaded, and our homebrew applications and our PS for fake packages. So if I load PS5 Explorer and go to root access, I can press left on the D-pad to switch to the USB down drive. To the PS5 autoloader folder, hover over it and press triangle and then select the option to send to /data. And then we'll say all to replace existing files. And that will get the autoloader updated on the hard drive, so that we don't need the USB drive plugged in when we're loading. The autoloader. And we can also run our PS for games, so Resident Evil installed for that was as a fake package, just like on the PS for it's the same thing. So that's just got that game up and that running. Is a PS for game, just the same as loading it on the PS4. If you have a jailbroken PS for it's exactly the same. PS5 games, though, are a little bit different. We have to use the items flow game manager, or at least this is one of the options. The main option for running PS5 game backups. So when this application loads, we just run app section here and select change app path, which then lets you select a folder. So if we press R1, it will switch to the right menu, which is our USB. We just find the folder that contains the extracted game files for our PS5 application, and then just press square once you're selected over it. And then you can either just launch it directly from the USB, or select the copy app folder option, which will allow you to then copy it to the console storage if you prefer to load it from there. But just for quickness, we can just hit launch to get it launched directly off the USB. And as you can see, we've got that native PS5 game loaded successfully here on the console, so that is ETA hen fully set up with the new version of KStuff supporting firmwares up to 10.01 on the PS5. And of course, when you want to run that PS5 game again, you can just go back into